Tyler Chen's boots made soft squeaking sounds against the polished floor of the Galactic Combat Institute's main training hall. He tried not to look nervous, but his hands kept fidgeting with the white cord tied around his waist. White meant beginner. White meant he knew nothing. White meant everyone in this room could probably break him in half without trying. The training hall was enormous. Back on Earth, Tyler had trained in a small dojo above a pizza shop in Seattle. This place could fit 20 of those dojos inside it. The ceiling stretched up so high that Tyler could barely see it. Strange alien lights floated near the top, casting shadows that moved in ways Earth shadows never did. The floor was marked with circles and lines and colors Tyler didn't have names for. Some of the marks glowed faintly. Others seemed to absorb light. 37 pairs of eyes watched him walk to the center of the hall. None of those eyes were human. Tyler was the first of his kind to qualify for admission to the Institute. Earth had only joined the galactic community 5 years ago. Humans were still the new kids on the block. The weird kids. The Deathworlders who came from a planet so dangerous that most species considered it a hellscape. Another human, a deep voice rumbled through the hall. Tyler looked up at Instructor Qualseth. The Zenthari stood nearly 8 feet tall, his blue-gray skin covered in ritual scars that marked him as a master of 7 different fighting styles. But it was the 4 arms that really grabbed Tyler's attention. 4 thick, muscular arms that moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Each arm bore black bands marked with symbols Tyler couldn't read. Qualseth's face was vaguely humanoid, but his eyes were too large and too dark, like pools of oil. "You Deathworlders breed tough," Qualseth continued, crossing all 4 arms across his massive chest. "I will grant you that much. Your gravity is higher than most civilized worlds. Your atmosphere is poison to half the species in this room. You survived diseases that would kill a Valkyrie in minutes." He paused, and Tyler heard disappointment in his voice. But toughness without technique is just stubbornness waiting to be broken. Laughter rippled through the assembled students. Tyler felt his face grow hot. He'd expected this. Earth's diplomatic corps had warned him. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy now. Strong, yes. Tough, yes. Stubborn, absolutely. But refined? Sophisticated? Capable of the kind of martial artistry that the galaxy had perfected over millions of years? Most aliens didn't think so. "Let me save you some time, soft skin." The voice came from Tyler's left. He turned to see Karaz, a Sarkeen warrior who stood nearly 7 feet tall. His scales were a deep emerald green, polished until they gleamed under the strange lights. His legs bent backward at the knees, triple-jointed in a way that made Tyler's stomach twist just looking at them. A thick tail swayed behind him, easily 6 feet long and tipped with a ridge of bone that looked sharp enough to cut steel. Karaz's eyes were golden and slitted like a snake's. When he smiled, Tyler counted 3 rows of teeth. "The washout rate here is 80%, Karaz said, taking a step closer. 80% of students never earn their amber cord. They go home in shame, back to whatever backwater world spawned them. For someone with your limitations." Karaz gestured at Tyler's body with barely concealed contempt. "You will not last a week." "Karaz speaks truth," another voice added. This one clicked and buzzed in a way that made Tyler's teeth ache. Oasis moved forward on 4 thin legs, her mantis-like body swaying. Her head was triangular, dominated by compound eyes that seemed to look at Tyler from 1,000 angles at once. "No offense intended, human, but your species lacks the proper physiological adaptations for true martial excellence. 2 arms. 2 legs. Limited flexibility. No natural weapons. You are built for endurance, perhaps. For long-distance running. For surviving injuries. But not for combat artistry." Tyler said nothing. What could he say? OSS wasn't wrong. Compared to most of the species in this room, humans were generalists. They had 2 arms when others had 4 or 6. 2 legs when others had 8. Human bones were strong, but not as strong as a Lithran's crystalline structure. Human muscles were tough, but not as tough as a Zenthari's enhanced fibers. Humans could see in the visible spectrum, but not in infrared like a Draken, or in ultraviolet like a Skyther. But humans had something else. Something Tyler had spent his whole life developing. He just needed a chance to show it. "Enough chatter," Qualseth commanded. His voice cut through the murmurs like a blade through silk. The hall fell silent instantly. "Chin, you were the white cord. That means you begin at the beginning like everyone else who has stood where you stand now. You will face challenges. You will fail many times before you succeed even once. If you are lucky and skilled and determined, perhaps in 5 years you will earn your amber cord. Perhaps in 10 years your crimson cord. The obsidian cord. Qualsetha's laugh was like grinding stones. Only 3 students in the last century have achieved that rank before their 20th year of study. Tyler nodded slowly. 5 years to amber. 10 years to crimson. 20 years to obsidian, if he was extraordinarily talented. He'd known the statistics before he applied. Earth's government had tried to talk him out of coming. Too young, they'd said. Only 17. Wait a few years. Get more training. But Tyler had insisted, and Earth needed representatives in every corner of galactic society. Even the corners that didn't want them. Careless, Qualseth gestured with one of his lower arms. You have been pestering me about testing for your amber cord. Here is your chance. Defeat the human. Show him what 5 years of proper training looks like. Show him the difference between Deathworld strength and true martial discipline. Carthaz's eyes gleamed with something Tyler recognized. Hunger. The Sarkeen moved to the center of the largest circle with liquid grace, his tail coiling and uncoiling behind him. He settled into a ready stance that looked both relaxed and deadly at the same time. His weight balanced perfectly on his triple-jointed legs. His clawed hands hung loose at his sides. Every muscle in his body seemed to be both resting and ready to explode into motion. Tyler remained where he stood, just outside the circle. Well? Qualsetha's voice held amusement now. Are you frozen with fear, human? I have seen your kind fight before. You charge forward with reckless abandon. You ignore pain. You refuse to surrender even when defeat is certain. Where is that famous human stubbornness now? No, sir, Tyler replied, keeping his voice calm and respectful. I'm not frozen with fear. I have a request, if that's permitted under Institute protocols. The amusement in Qualsetha's expression deepened. Speak, Student Chin. Before we spar, I'd like Carthas to demonstrate his technique. Just once. Just his basic form. Give me 13 seconds to watch him move. For a moment, the training hall was completely silent. Then someone giggled. Then someone else laughed. Within seconds, the entire hall erupted in laughter. Even LSS's clicking sounds took on an amused tone. Qualsetha's forearms uncrossed. 2 of them went to his sides while the other 2 covered what Tyler guessed was his equivalent of a stomach. You want to watch? Carthas couldn't seem to believe what he was hearing. His tail lashed behind him in what Tyler recognized as the Sarkeen expression of disbelief. Human, I have spent 5 years at this institute. 5 years of meditation. 5 years of unlocking the fighting forms encoded in my genetic memory by my ancestors. Warriors who perfected these techniques over 10,000 generations. You think you can learn something useful by watching for 13 seconds? Tyler met Carthas's golden eyes without flinching. Maybe, he said quietly. Or maybe I'll learn what not to do. Either way, I'd like to see you move before you fold me into a pretzel. The laughter continued, but Tyler noticed something interesting. Qualseth had stopped laughing. The massive Zenthri instructor was staring at Tyler with those oil-dark eyes, and Tyler caught something in his expression. Curiosity maybe. Or perhaps recognition. Like Qualseth had seen something in Tyler that the others hadn't noticed yet. An unusual request, Qualseth said slowly. But not against Institute protocols. Every student has the right to observe demonstrations before formal matches. Carthas, demonstrate the Sarkeen wind form. 3rd variant. 15 seconds. Then you may begin the match and teach young Chin here about the consequences of arrogance. Carthas's smile widened, showing all 3 rows of teeth. Gladly, instructor. The Sarkeen warrior flowed into motion, and Tyler's world narrowed to a single point of focus. Everything else disappeared. The laughter. The watching students. Qualsetha's massive presence. All of it faded away until there was only Carthas and the way his body moved through space. It was beautiful. Tyler had studied dozens of earth martial arts, from karate to kung fu to Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He'd watched thousands of hours of videos, analyzing every movement, every weight shift, every subtle detail. But he'd never seen anything quite like this. Carthas moved like water, like wind, like something that wasn't entirely bound by normal physics. His circular movements redirected momentum in ways that seemed impossible. His tail acted as a counterweight, allowing him to change direction mid-strike. His triple-jointed legs let him shift his center of gravity so quickly that Tyler's eyes could barely track it. But Tyler's brain was tracking it. Every detail. The angle of Carthas's leading foot before each strike. The way his weight distributed before a pivot. The slight tell in his shoulders before a feint. The rhythm of his breathing. The pattern of his movements. Tyler absorbed it all like a sponge, his mind filing away each piece of information for instant recall. 13 seconds passed. Then 15. Karatha's returned to his ready position, that predatory smile still on his face. Satisfied human? Tyler stepped onto the mat. His heart was pounding but his hands were steady. He settled into a loose stance, weight balanced evenly on both feet. He took a slow breath, feeling his muscles relax. Then he looked up at Karatha's and smiled. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I think I've got it." Karatha's attacked the moment Qualseth gave the signal. His first strike came in low, a sweeping leg attack that had probably won him 100 matches before. The Sarkeen's powerful tail whipped around for balance as his triple-jointed leg extended in a blur of green scales and raw speed. It was the kind of opening move that tested an opponent's reflexes while setting up the real attack to come. Tyler shifted his weight to his right foot, exactly the way Karatha's had done during his demonstration. The sweep passed beneath him by inches. Tyler could feel the wind from it against his shin. Karatha's golden eyes widened slightly. Just a fraction. Just enough for Tyler to notice. The second strike came faster. Much faster. Karatha's clawed hand shot forward in a straight thrust aimed at Tyler's chest. This was the real attack, the one the leg sweep had been designed to set up. Most opponents would still be recovering their balance from dodging the first strike. They would be vulnerable. Open. Easy prey. But Tyler wasn't most opponents. He pivoted on his right foot, his body rotating smoothly to the left. His left arm came up in a circular block that redirected Karatha's thrust away from his body. The movement was pure Sarkeen wind form, third variant. The exact same defensive technique Karatha's had demonstrated 15 seconds ago. The training hall was no longer laughing. Someone gasped. Tyler heard Elwes's clicking sounds take on a different tone. Confusion maybe. Or concern. Karatha's pulled back and reset. His tail lashed once, twice. Tyler recognized it now as a sign of agitation. The Sarkeen warrior circled to the left, and Tyler mirrored him, maintaining perfect distance. Not too close. Not too far. Just like Karatha's had shown him. Lucky, Karatha's hissed. 2 lucky blocks. Let us see how your luck holds. The third exchange was a combination. A feint high, a real strike low, followed by a spinning tail sweep. Tyler had seen Karatha's practice this exact sequence during the demonstration. The feint had a tell. Karatha's left shoulder dipped slightly before the high attack, signaling his real intention. Tyler ducked under the feint without even bothering to block it. He stepped inside the low strike, too close for Karatha's to generate power. When the tail sweep came, Tyler jumped straight up, letting it pass beneath his feet. He landed in a crouch and immediately launched his own counterattack. A sweeping leg strike, exactly like Karatha's had demonstrated. His form wasn't as smooth as the Sarkeen's. His body wasn't built for these movements. But his technique was correct. His timing was perfect. His understanding of the principles was solid. Karatha's barely managed to dodge. The Sarkeen warrior stumbled back 3 steps, his usual grace disrupted. His tail coiled tight against his back, a defensive posture Tyler hadn't seen before. The golden eyes were wide now, no longer amused. No longer confident. "What are you doing?" Karatha's demanded. His voice had lost its mocking tone. "How are you doing that?" Tyler didn't answer. He was too focused. His mind was running through every detail he had observed. Every weight shift. Every angle. Every tiny movement that made the Sarkeen wind form work. It was like watching a recording in his head, except he could slow it down, speed it up, examine it from different angles. This was what Tyler was good at. What he had always been good at. Watching. Learning. Adapting. Back on Earth, his instructors had called it a gift. Tyler could watch a technique once and reproduce it with reasonable accuracy. Watch it twice and he could do it well. Watch it 3 times and he could teach it to others. His brain processed movement differently than most people. He saw patterns where others saw chaos. He understood rhythm and timing and weight distribution on an instinctive level that usually took years to develop. But Tyler had never tried to learn an alien martial art before. He had never tried to copy movements designed for a body with triple-jointed legs and a 6-foot tail. He was improvising now, adapting the techniques to his human body, making adjustments on the fly. His legs couldn't bend like Karatha's legs. His balance point was different. He had no tail to use as a counterweight. But the principles were the same. Circular motion. Redirected force. Weight distribution. Timing. Karatha's attacked again, more carefully this time. He mixed up his rhythm, trying to throw Tyler off. He added feints and misdirection that hadn't been in the demonstration. But Tyler was reading him now. Every tiny muscle twitch. Every shift in balance. Every tell that signaled what was coming next. Carruthers was fighting the way his ancestors had programmed him to fight. The techniques were thousands of years old, refined through genetic memory and passed down through generations. They were effective. They were deadly. But they were also predictable. Tyler blocked a high strike with his left forearm. He redirected a low kick with his right shin. He ducked under a tail sweep and countered with a palm strike that Carruthers barely deflected. The Sarkeen was breathing harder now. His scales had darkened slightly, which Tyler guessed meant stress or exertion. His movements were getting slower. More defensive. Less confident. 40 seconds had passed since the match began. Tyler saw his opening. Carruthers threw a straight punch that was slightly off balance. The Sarkeen had overextended, putting too much weight on his forward leg. Tyler stepped to the side and swept Carruthers' supporting leg. The same technique Carruthers had used to open the match. The same technique that had almost caught Tyler by surprise. Carruthers went down hard. His tail slapped against the mat as he fell. He tried to roll away to recover, but Tyler was already moving. He dropped into a low stance with his hand positioned at Carruthers' throat. Not touching. Not striking. Just there. A clear indication that in a real fight the match would be over. Qualseth's voice cut through the silence. Hold. Tyler stepped back immediately and rose to his feet. His heart was hammering in his chest. His muscles were starting to shake with adrenaline. But he kept his face neutral. He offered his hand to Carruthers, the human gesture of respect after a match. Carruthers stared at the offered hand for a long moment. Then he looked up at Tyler's face. The Sarkeen's expression was unreadable. Finally, he reached up and gripped Tyler's hand. His clawed fingers were careful not to pierce skin. Tyler helped pull him to his feet. 53 seconds, Qualseth announced. His forearms were crossed again, but his tone had changed. The amusement was gone. Carruthers, you have trained here for 5 years. You have unlocked 3 tiers of your genetic combat memory. You have earned the right to test for your amber cord. And you were defeated in 53 seconds by a student who watched you move for 15 seconds. Carruthers said nothing. His tail hung limp behind him. His scales had darkened even further. Chin, Qualseth's oil-dark eyes fixed on Tyler. Explain. Tyler took a breath. I watched. I learned. I adapted. That is not an explanation, Qualseth rumbled. That is a statement of the obvious. How did you learn? What technique did you employ? What technology do you have hidden on your person? Speak clearly and quickly, human, because right now I am trying to decide if you cheated or if I just witnessed something impossible. No technology, sir, Tyler said. No cheating. I just watched Carruthers move and copied what I saw. OSS clicked forward on her thin legs. Impossible. The Sarkeen wind form is encoded in genetic memory. It takes years of meditation to unlock. Years of practice to master. You cannot simply copy it by watching. I didn't master it, Tyler admitted. My form was rough. My balance was off. I don't have a tail or triple-jointed legs, so I had to adapt. But the principles are the same. Weight distribution. Circular motion. Using an opponent's momentum against them. Those things don't change based on biology. You speak of principles, Qualseth said slowly. But principles alone do not allow someone to copy a technique after seeing it once. What makes you capable of this, human? What biological advantage does your species possess? Tyler hesitated. He had tried to explain this to people before. It never sounded impressive when he said it out loud. Humans learn by watching and imitating. It is how we developed as a species. We watched our parents. We copied their movements. We learned to make tools by observing others making tools. We learned to hunt by watching experienced hunters. Our brains are wired for pattern recognition and mimicry. All species learn by observation, Carruthers said. His voice was quiet now, lacking its earlier arrogance. That is not unique to humans. Maybe not, Tyler agreed. But humans might do it faster than most. We have something called mirror neurons. They fire in our brains when we watch someone else perform an action. They help us understand movement on an instinctive level. They let us predict what someone will do next based on subtle cues. They allow us to learn physical skills quickly by observation. Qualseth was silent for a long moment. His forearms slowly uncrossed. 2 of them went to his sides. The other 2 clasped together in front of his chest. It was a gesture Tyler hadn't seen before. Interesting, the instructor said finally. Very interesting indeed. Qualseth's forearms gestured toward the watching students. OSS. Step forward. The mantis-like Valkyrie clicked across the training mat, her compound eyes reflecting the strange lights from above. Tyler could see himself reflected 1,000 times in those eyes, 1,000 tiny versions of himself all looking nervous. LSS settled into a ready stance that looked nothing like Karatha's flowing movements. Her 4 legs spread wide for stability. Her 2 arm limbs held close to her triangular head, bent at sharp angles like coiled springs. You claim humans learn by watching, Qualseth said. Prove it. LSS practices the mantis strike style. It was developed by her people over 2 million years. It is built for a body structure completely different from yours. You have no compound eyes to track multiple targets. You have no limbs designed for rapid striking. Show me you can adapt to this as easily as you adapted to Sarkeen techniques. Tyler nodded slowly. His legs were already tired from the first match. His arms ached. But he couldn't show weakness. Not now. May I watch her demonstrate first? 10 seconds, Qualseth said. Oasis show him the basic striking sequence. Oasis moved and Tyler's eyes went wide. She was fast. Incredibly fast. Her arm limbs shot out in a blur of strikes, each one aimed at a different vital point. High, low, middle, high again. The pattern seemed random at first, but Tyler forced himself to focus. There had to be a pattern. There was always a pattern. Her legs adjusted her position between each strike, maintaining perfect balance. Her body rotated at angles that made Tyler's spine hurt just watching. She was using her compound eyes to track multiple attack angles at once, something Tyler's human eyes couldn't do. 10 seconds passed. LSS returned to her ready stance. Satisfied. Her clicking voice held doubt. You cannot hope to match Valkyrie's speed. Your reaction time is too slow. Your eyes can only focus on one target at a time. Maybe, Tyler said, stepping onto the mat. But I don't need to match your speed. I just need to understand your pattern. Qualseth gave the signal. LYSS attacked immediately. Her right arm limb shot toward Tyler's throat. He stepped back, watching carefully. The strike was fast but not as random as it seemed. Her legs telegraphed her movements a fraction of a second before her arms moved. A slight shift in her rear leg meant a high strike. An adjustment in her forward leg meant a low strike. Tyler blocked the first 3 attacks, barely. His arms stung from the impacts, but he was learning. Each exchange taught him something new. LSS fought in straight lines, not circles like Karatha's. She relied on speed and precision rather than redirected momentum. Her strikes came in predetermined sequences, probably encoded in her genetic memory just like Karatha's techniques. 5-strike pattern. High, high, low, middle, high. Then reset. Then a different pattern. 7 strikes this time. Low, middle, middle, high, low, low, middle. Tyler started predicting the patterns. He moved before LSS struck, positioning himself where her attacks wouldn't reach. He couldn't match her speed, so he didn't try. Instead, he focused on being where she wasn't attacking. After 20 seconds, he caught one of her strikes mid-motion, gripping her arm limb at the joint. He swept her forward leg. LSS crashed down onto the mat with a surprised clicking sound. Hold, Qualseth commanded. Tyler released LYSS immediately and stepped back. The Valkyrie rose to her feet, her compound eyes staring at him with what might have been respect or might have been confusion. Tyler couldn't tell. 37 seconds, Qualseth announced. Chin, remain on the mat. Boom, you are next. A crystalline being rolled forward. Boom's body was unlike anything Tyler had seen before. He looked like a boulder made of transparent blue crystal, roughly spherical, about 4 feet in diameter. Geometric patterns glowed inside his body, shifting and changing. He had no visible eyes, no mouth, no limbs. He moved by rolling, his body humming with a deep vibration that Tyler could feel in his chest. Boom practices the crystalline defense form, Qualseth explained. His people do not strike. They absorb attacks and redirect kinetic energy through harmonic resonance. His body is nearly indestructible. Show Chin your technique, Boom. 10 seconds. Boom rolled in a slow circle around the mat. His body hummed louder and suddenly he stopped rolling. He remained perfectly still. Then he began to vibrate, his entire crystalline structure shaking so fast it became a blur. The sound was intense, like a deep bell ringing. The floor beneath him cracked slightly. Tyler felt the vibration in his teeth, in his bones. After 10 seconds, Boom stopped vibrating and returned to his normal state. Tyler had no idea how to fight something like this. Boom had no weak points he could see. No joints to manipulate. No balance to disrupt. How did you defeat an opponent who was basically an intelligent rock? Begin, Qualseth said. Tyler approached carefully. Boom rolled toward him, slow and steady. Tyler threw a testing punch at the crystalline surface. His fist connected with a solid thunk that sent pain shooting up his arm. It was like punching a concrete wall. Boom didn't even seem to notice. The crystal hummed, and suddenly Tyler felt the force of his own punch reflected back at him. He stumbled backward, shaking out his hand. Boom rolled forward faster now. Tyler dodged to the side. He couldn't hurt Boom with strikes. He needed a different approach. Tyler thought back to the demonstration. Boom had stayed still before vibrating. He needed a stable position to generate that defensive resonance. What if Tyler didn't let him stay stable? Tyler ran at Boom from the side and pushed hard against the crystalline body. Boom was heavy, but Tyler had momentum. The crystal began to roll faster, moving in a direction Boom hadn't intended. Tyler kept pushing, kept the crystal off balance. Boom tried to stop, tried to dig into the floor, but Tyler was already moving. He grabbed a training staff from the edge of the mat and wedged it under Boom's rolling body. The crystal tipped at an angle, no longer able to control his direction. Boom rolled past the boundary line of the mat. Out of bounds. Match over. Hold, Quaseth said. His voice held something new now. Not amusement. Not doubt. Interest. Pure, focused interest. Tyler dropped the staff and walked back to the center of the mat. His hands were shaking. His lungs burned. He had fought 3 matches in less than 5 minutes. But he couldn't show weakness. Not yet. Nina, Quaseth called. Final test. A figure dropped from the ceiling. Tyler looked up in surprise. He hadn't even known anyone was up there. Nina descended on wings that looked like stained glass, each feather a different color. She was small, maybe 3 feet tall, with a body that seemed too delicate to be real. Her people were called Scyther, Tyler remembered from his briefing materials. They came from a low-gravity world where flight was as natural as walking. Nina practices aerial combat techniques, Quaseth said. Her style requires 3-dimensional thinking. Ground-based fighters struggle against Scyther warriors. You have 30 seconds to observe, Chin. Use them wisely. Nina flew in complex patterns around the training hall. She moved in loops and spirals, attacking from unexpected angles. Her strikes came from above, from behind, from the sides. She used her small size and incredible maneuverability to stay out of reach while launching quick attacks. Her wings beat so fast they were almost invisible. She could stop mid-flight, reverse direction instantly, climb or dive with equal ease. Tyler watched carefully. Nina's flight pattern wasn't random either. She orbited her target in a clockwise spiral, attacking from the same relative positions each time. High right, low left, direct front, high left, low right. The spiral tightened with each pass, bringing her closer until she could land a decisive strike. It was beautiful and deadly. Begin, Quaseth commanded. Nina shot upward immediately, climbing toward the ceiling. Tyler stayed on the ground, watching her carefully. She began her spiral pattern, exactly as she had demonstrated. High right attack. Tyler was ready. He didn't try to block or dodge. Instead, he threw the training staff at her like a javelin. Nina's reflexes were excellent. She dodged easily, but it disrupted her pattern. She had to reset her spiral. Low left attack. This time Tyler waited until the last moment, then dropped flat to the ground. Nina's strike passed over him. She had committed to the attack and couldn't change direction fast enough. Tyler rolled and came up with another training staff. He used it to swat at Nina as she tried to reset her pattern again. Not hard enough to hurt her, just enough to keep her off balance. Nina tried a different approach. She came in fast and direct, no spiral pattern. But Tyler had seen how she moved, how she adjusted her wings for different maneuvers. The wing on her right side dipped slightly before she turned left. Her body tilted forward before she dove. He could read her movements now, predict where she would be. Tyler didn't try to catch her. He couldn't. She was too fast and too maneuverable. Instead, he kept her on the defensive. He forced her to constantly adjust, to break her patterns, to stay out of striking range. After a minute, Nina landed on the mat, breathing hard. Her delicate wings drooped slightly. I yield, she said, her voice like wind chimes. I cannot land a strike. This human predicts my movements too well. Quaseth stepped onto the mat. All 4 of his arms hung at his sides. He walked in a slow circle around Tyler, studying him like a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. The massive Zenthari instructor said nothing for a long moment. The entire training hall was silent. 37 students watched and waited. 4 opponents, Quaseth finally said. 4 completely different fighting styles. 4 different body types with different advantages and disadvantages. 4 victories for the human. The first in 53 seconds. The second in 37 seconds. The third in 42 seconds. The fourth in 90 seconds before yielding. He stopped in front of Tyler. Explain this to me, human. Explain how a species that has been part of the galactic community for only 5 years possesses this capability. Tyler took a shaky breath. We watch. We learn. We adapt. That's what humans do. That's what we've always done. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest. We don't have genetic memory or compound eyes or crystalline bodies. But we can learn from anyone. We can study anyone's technique and find a way to counter it. That's our advantage. Qualsetha's oil-dark eyes stared into Tyler's. Other species learn from observation. That is not unique. But how long does it take them? Tyler asked. How many years of unlocking genetic memory? How many generations of encoded knowledge? I learned Kaerthas's technique in 15 seconds because I didn't need to unlock anything. My brain just processed it. That's what human brains do. The instructor was quiet again. Then slowly he nodded. I understand now, Qualseth said quietly. I understand what makes humans dangerous. Qualseth walked to the center of the training mat, each footstep making a heavy thud against the polished floor. The massive Zenthari stood 8 feet tall, his forearms hanging relaxed at his sides. The ritual scars covering his blue-gray skin seemed to glow faintly under the training hall's strange lights. Tyler watched those scars and realized each one probably represented a victory, a lesson learned, or a battle survived. There were hundreds of them. You have defeated 4 opponents today, Qualseth said, his deep voice filling the hall. 4 students who have trained here for years. You watched them move and you copied their techniques. Your brain processes movement quickly. Your pattern recognition is extraordinary. These are valuable skills, Chin. But they are not enough. Tyler felt his stomach tighten. He was exhausted. His muscles screamed for rest. His hands were bruised from blocking Elwes's strikes and punching Boom's crystalline body. He had been fighting for nearly 10 minutes straight without a break. And now Qualseth wanted to test him personally. The techniques you faced today were encoded in genetic memory, Qualseth continued. They follow patterns, sequences, predictable movements refined over thousands of generations. You learn to read those patterns. But what happens when you face something with no pattern? What happens when your opponent improvises? What happens when copying is not enough? The instructor's 4 arms moved into a ready position Tyler had never seen before. 2 arms high, 2 arms low. His stance was wide and solid, weight distributed perfectly. I will demonstrate a technique once. Only once. It is called the Storm of Blades. It is an ancient Zenthari form that only masters are permitted to learn. Then I will attack you at full speed with no holding back. If you can land one clean strike on me, you pass this test. If you cannot, you have learned an important lesson about the limits of observation. Tyler swallowed hard. How long do I get to watch? 5 seconds, Qualseth said. A master does not need more. 5 seconds. Tyler had watched Kaerthas for 15 seconds. OSS for 10 seconds. Now Qualseth was giving him 5 seconds to learn a master-level technique. A technique that used 4 arms instead of 2. A technique performed by someone with twice Tyler's mass and probably 3 times his strength. Begin observation, Qualseth commanded. The Zenthari instructor exploded into motion. 4 arms moved in 4 different patterns simultaneously. The high right arm struck in straight lines. The high left arm moved in curves. The low right arm focused on sweeps and grabs. The low left arm defended and countered. All 4 worked together like a violent orchestra, each arm independent but coordinated with the others. Qualseth's footwork was complex, constantly shifting his weight and position. He demonstrated strikes, blocks, throws and joint locks, all flowing seamlessly from one to the next. 5 seconds passed in a blur. Tyler's brain tried to process what he had seen, but there was too much information. Too many moving parts. Too many simultaneous actions. His pattern recognition was overwhelmed. He couldn't track 4 independent movement patterns at once. His human eyes could only focus on one thing at a time, and Qualseth had given him 4 things to watch simultaneously. Time, Qualseth announced, returning to his ready position. Begin. The instructor came at Tyler like a hurricane. The high right arm shot toward Tyler's head. Tyler moved to block it, but the high left arm was already coming from a different angle. He twisted away and the low right arm swept his legs. Tyler jumped and both low arms grabbed for him mid-air. He barely twisted away, landing awkwardly. The 4 arms didn't pause. They didn't reset. They just kept coming from every direction at once. Tyler blocked with his left arm and was immediately struck on his right side. He dodged right and an arm came from the left. He tried to create distance but Qualsetha's long reach and 4 attacking limbs made that impossible. Within 10 seconds Tyler had been hit 6 times. Not hard enough to injure but hard enough to make the point. He couldn't copy this technique. He couldn't even defend against it properly. Another strike came toward his chest. Tyler blocked it but 2 more arms struck from different angles. He took hits to his shoulder and his ribs. The pain was sharp but he forced himself to focus. He couldn't copy Qualsetha's style. Fine. He wouldn't try. Instead, Tyler thought about everything he had learned today. The circular movements from Karthus. The straight-line precision from LYSS. The defensive positioning from Fighting Boom. The three-dimensional thinking from Nina's aerial attacks. What if he didn't copy Qualseth? What if he used everything else he had learned instead? Tyler switched tactics. When Qualsetha's high right arm attacked, Tyler used a circular block from the Sarkeen windform to redirect it. When the high left arm came in, he used LYSS's precise angular deflection. He borrowed from every style he had seen today, mixing techniques that had never been combined before. Sarkeen circles flowing into Valkyrie lines. Defensive positioning from the crystalline form blending with movement patterns from aerial combat. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and improvised and probably broke every rule of proper martial arts. But it was working. Sort of. Tyler was still getting hit but less often now. He was starting to predict where the openings would appear between Qualsetha's 4 arms. The instructor was fast and skilled, but even 4 arms had to follow certain physical laws. There were brief moments when arms moved out of position. Split seconds when defenses opened. Tyler watched for those moments. He started taking calculated risks. When Qualsetha's high arms committed to strikes, his low arms had to adjust for balance. When his low arms swept, his high arms had to compensate. The 4 arms weren't truly independent. They were parts of a whole system and every system had vulnerabilities. 30 seconds into the match, Tyler saw his chance. Qualseth launched a complex combination with all 4 arms attacking in sequence. High right, low left. It was devastating and overwhelming. But it was also committed. For one brief moment, all 4 arms were extended, reaching for Tyler. Which meant they weren't defending Qualsetha's body. Tyler didn't think. He just moved. He stepped inside the pattern of attacks, closer to Qualseth than was probably wise. He used a Sarkeen circular motion to slip past the high right arm. He borrowed LYSS's angular footwork to dodge under the high left arm. He positioned himself using principles from Fighting Boom, making himself small and hard to target. And he struck. His palm hit Qualsetha's chest, right over where Tyler guessed the instructor's heart or equivalent organ would be. Not hard. Not meant to injure. Just a clean, clear strike that in a real fight would have been decisive. Tyler had landed his hit. Then Qualsetha's low left arm swept Tyler's legs and he crashed hard onto the mat. The impact knocked the wind from Tyler's lungs. He lay there gasping, staring up at the distant ceiling. His entire body hurt. Every muscle was screaming. But he had done it. He had landed a strike on Qualseth. The instructor's face appeared above him, looking down with those oil-dark eyes. For a moment, Qualsetha's expression was unreadable. Then, slowly, something that might have been a smile crossed his scarred features. Acceptable, Qualseth said. Tyler started laughing. He couldn't help it. Acceptable. He had just fought 5 matches in a row, defeated 4 opponents, and landed a strike on a master instructor. And it was acceptable. The laughter hurt his bruised ribs but he couldn't stop. Qualseth extended one of his 4 arms. Tyler gripped it and the massive Zenthari pulled him to his feet with ease. The instructor's 3 other arms crossed over his chest in a gesture Tyler now recognized as deep respect. You did not copy my technique, Qualseth observed. I couldn't, Tyler admitted, still breathing hard. Too complex. 4 arms moving independently. My brain couldn't process it all in 5 seconds. So what did you do instead? I improvised, Tyler said. I used pieces from every style I saw today. I mixed them together. I created something new. Qualsetha's smile widened slightly. Yes, you did exactly that. Do you understand what this means, Chin? Tyler shook his head. His brain was too tired for philosophy. Other species in this galaxy have perfected their fighting styles over millions of years, Qualseth explained, his 4 arms gesturing to the watching students. Karthus fights like his ancestors fought. LYSS fights like her ancestors fought. Their techniques are refined, polished, perfect, but also rigid. They cannot easily adapt or change because their styles are encoded in their very genetics. They fight the way their bodies were designed to fight. The instructor placed one heavy hand on Tyler's shoulder. But humans? Humans do not have genetic memory. You do not have preset fighting styles encoded in your DNA. You have something far more valuable. You have creativity. You have the ability to see a dozen different techniques and combine them into something new. Something that has never existed before. Something no genetic memory could have predicted. Tyler looked around the training hall. 37 students watched him with expressions he couldn't fully read. Respect maybe. Confusion definitely. Perhaps a little fear. Genetic memory is powerful, Qualseth continued. It allows species to preserve knowledge across generations without loss. But it also limits them. They can only be what their ancestors were. Humans? Humans can be anything. You can learn from everyone. You can combine techniques from a dozen different species and create something entirely new. That is what makes your species dangerous, Chin. Not your strength. Not your endurance. Your adaptability. Your creativity. Your refusal to be limited by what came before. The instructor stepped back and addressed the entire hall. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Tradition is valuable. Genetic memory is powerful. But do not become so rigid that you cannot adapt. Do not become so focused on perfection that you forget innovation. He gestured toward Tyler. This human defeated you today not because he was stronger or faster or more skilled. He defeated you because he was willing to learn from all of you and become something none of you expected. Kaertha stepped forward, his emerald scales gleaming. The tall Sarkeen approached Tyler and extended his clawed hand. I judged you too quickly, human. I apologize. I would be honored to train with you. Perhaps you can teach me to see patterns the way you do. And perhaps you can teach me to move more smoothly, Tyler replied, shaking the offered hand carefully. My Sarkeen wind form is pretty rough. LYSS clicked forward next. I also wish to train with you, Tyler Chin. I want to understand how you predicted my strike patterns so quickly. One by one the other students approached. Not all of them. Some still looked suspicious or resentful. But enough. More than Tyler had expected. They asked questions about human learning. About mirror neurons and pattern recognition. About how Tyler's brain processed movement. About creativity and improvisation. Qualseth watched it all with satisfaction. Then he raised one arm for silence. Chin, you have demonstrated exceptional ability today. However, you still wear the white cord. You have only been a student for 1 day. Normally, earning your amber cord requires 5 years of training. Earning your crimson cord requires 10 years. The obsidian cord. The instructor paused. That typically requires 20 years or more. Tyler's heart sank. He had hoped that today's performance might speed things up, but 5 years was still 5 years. However, Qualseth continued, and Tyler heard something new in his voice, the Institute has provisions for exceptional circumstances. For students who demonstrate not just skill but innovation. For those who push the boundaries of what we thought possible. The instructor's forearms spread wide. The council will convene tonight to discuss your case, Tyler Chin. I cannot promise anything. But I believe we have witnessed something unprecedented today. The council chamber was nothing like Tyler expected. He had imagined a formal room with judges sitting behind a high bench, maybe some dramatic lighting and ceremonial decorations. Instead, it was a circular space with a domed ceiling that showed a projection of stars. The walls were smooth and dark, almost like polished obsidian. 7 beings sat in floating chairs arranged in a circle, each representing a different species on the council. Qualseth stood beside Tyler, his forearms clasped behind his back. Tyler recognized a few of the council members from his orientation materials. There was Elder Vix, a draken whose scales shifted between purple and gold. Council member Thress, whose gaseous body floated inside a containment suit. High Scholar Kren, a being made entirely of interlocking geometric shapes that slowly rotated. The others were species Tyler had never seen before. Tyler Chin, Elder Vix spoke first, her voice carrying harmonics that made Tyler's bones vibrate. We have reviewed the recordings of today's matches. We have consulted with Instructor Qualseth. We have debated for 3 hours. What you accomplished today should not have been possible. Tyler wasn't sure if that was a compliment or an accusation. He stayed quiet and waited. In the 1,000-year history of this institute, Thress added, his voice echoing from within his suit, no student has ever defeated 4 opponents on their first day. No student has ever landed a strike on a master instructor during their initial testing. No student has ever demonstrated the ability to learn and adapt at the speed you displayed. High Scholar Kren's geometric shapes clicked together as they rotated. We have verified you used no technology. No hidden enhancements. No drugs or genetic modifications. What you did was purely biological. A function of how human brains process information. Some council members believe you are an anomaly, Elder Vix continued. A statistical outlier. One exceptional human among billions. They argue we should not change our standards based on one student's performance. Tyler felt his hope fading. They were going to make him wait 5 years anyway. He tried not to let his disappointment show on his face. However, Qualseth spoke up, his deep voice filling the chamber, I disagree with that assessment. I do not believe Chin is an anomaly. I believe he represents something we have not encountered before. A species whose primary evolutionary advantage is rapid adaptive learning. If other humans possess even a fraction of his capabilities, we need to adjust our understanding of what this species can achieve. Elder Vix's scales shifted to a deep blue color. Qualseth argues that awarding Chin the obsidian cord immediately would serve 2 purposes. First, it acknowledges exceptional achievement. Second, it sends a message to the galaxy that the Institute recognizes and values innovation, not just tradition. There are risks, Thress said. Other students may feel this devalues their own achievements. They spent years earning their cords. Chin earned his in 1 day. Chin did not earn his cord in 1 day, Qualseth corrected firmly. He earned it through 17 years of dedicated practice on his homeworld. Through thousands of hours watching and learning. Through developing capabilities that his species naturally possesses but he has refined to an exceptional degree. The fact that we did not witness those years of training does not mean they did not happen. High Scholar Kren's shapes stopped rotating. The council has reached a decision. Tyler Chin stepped forward. Tyler's legs felt weak, but he forced himself to walk to the center of the circle. The 7 council members all focused their attention on him. Different eyes, different ways of seeing, but all watching him with the same intensity. Tyler Chin of Earth, Elder Vix spoke formally now, her voice carrying weight and ceremony. The Galactic Combat Institute Council recognizes your exceptional demonstration of skill, creativity, and adaptive learning. We acknowledge that your achievements today exceed the normal requirements for advancement. Therefore, by unanimous decision we award you the Obsidian Cord. The equivalent of what your people call a black belt. You are now recognized as a master-level practitioner, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Tyler's breath caught in his throat. He had hoped, but he hadn't actually believed it would happen. Master level. On his first day. It seemed impossible. Qualseth stepped forward holding a black cord woven from some material that seemed to absorb light. The instructor's 4 hands moved with careful precision as he removed Tyler's white cord and replaced it with the obsidian one. The new cord felt heavier somehow, like it carried the weight of expectation. Do not let this go to your head, Chin, Qualseth said quietly for Tyler's ears only. This cord means you have demonstrated exceptional ability. But ability is not the same as wisdom. You still have much to learn. The difference is that now you will learn as a teacher as well as a student. That is what the obsidian cord represents. The responsibility to pass on knowledge, not just to acquire it. Tyler touched the black cord at his waist. His hands were shaking slightly. I understand, sir. Thank you. The council dismissed them and Qualseth led Tyler back to the training hall. Word had spread fast. When Tyler entered, all 37 students were waiting. They stood in formal ranks, silent and watching. Tyler saw Kaerthas near the front, his golden eyes unreadable. Oasis was beside him, her compound eyes reflecting Tyler's image 1,000 times. Nina perched on a training bar near the ceiling, her stained glass wings folded. Even Boom had rolled into position, his crystalline body humming softly. Students, Qualseth announced, Master Chin has returned. The word master caused a ripple of whispers. Some students looked impressed. Others looked skeptical. A few looked angry. Tyler understood. He had been here for 1 day. 1 single day. And now he wore the same cord that some of them had spent 20 years trying to earn. Kaerthas stepped forward first, just as he had after their match. But this time he didn't extend his hand. Instead he performed a full bow, lowering his head and spreading his arms wide. It was the Sarkeen gesture of respect for a superior warrior. Master Chin, Kaerthas said formally, I spoke poorly of you when you arrived. I judged your species without knowledge. I assumed human limitations without understanding human capabilities. I ask your forgiveness. And I ask for the honor of training under your instruction. Tyler felt his face grow hot. Kaerthas, you don't need to bow to me. I'm not your superior. I just learn differently than you do. That is precisely why I wish to train with you, Carthus replied, rising from his bow. I have spent 5 years unlocking my genetic memory. 5 years accessing the techniques of my ancestors. But you have shown me something I never considered. The ability to combine techniques. To create something new from existing knowledge. This is not encoded in my genetic memory. I must learn it the human way. Through observation. Through practice. Through creativity. LYSS clicked forward next. I also request training, Master Chin. My people fight with precision and speed. But we follow patterns encoded over millions of years. Today you defeated me by predicting those patterns. I want to learn how to see my own patterns from an outside perspective. How to adapt and change them. One by one, more students approached. Not all of them, but more than half. They asked questions. They wanted to understand human learning methods. They wanted to know how Tyler had combined different fighting styles. They wanted to learn creativity and improvisation, things their genetic memory couldn't teach them. Tyler looked at Qualseth, slightly panicked. Sir, I don't know how to teach this. I just do it. It's instinctive. Then you will learn how to teach it, Qualseth replied with something that might have been amusement. That is what the obsidian cord requires. The ability to pass on knowledge. To make the instinctive conscious. To explain the unexplainable. Welcome to the difficult part of mastery, Chin. Over the next hour, Tyler found himself in the center of the training mat surrounded by eager students. He tried to explain how he had watched Carthus move. How his brain had processed the information. How he had identified patterns and predicted movements. It was harder than fighting had been. Putting instinct into words felt impossible. Okay, let me try this differently, Tyler said after several failed attempts at explanation. Carthus, attack me again with the wind form. Everyone else, watch. Don't watch me. Watch Carthus. Tell me what you see. Carthus moved into position and launched his opening attack. Tyler dodged, but he kept talking while moving. What do you see? Don't just watch the attack. Watch everything. His legs. His tail. His shoulders. What happens right before he strikes? His rear leg shifts, LYSS clicked. 0.3 seconds before his arm moves. Yes. Tyler blocked another strike. That's the tell. His body has to transfer weight before generating power. Every fighting style has tells like that. Not weaknesses. Just physics. You can't violate the laws of physics, no matter how perfect your genetic memory is. Nina called down from her perch near the ceiling. When I attack, my right wing dips slightly before I turn left. You used that to predict my movements. Exactly, Tyler said, finally creating enough distance from Carthus to pause. Every fighter has tells. Even masters. Even Qualseth. I saw his 4 arms work together, so I looked for moments when they interfered with each other. When all 4 arms committed to attacks they couldn't defend. Just for a split second. But that was enough. Qualseth's rumbling laugh filled the training hall. Well observed, Chin. And correctly explained. I do have that vulnerability. Every Zen3 master does. We train for decades to minimize it, but it cannot be eliminated completely. The question is whether an opponent is clever enough to recognize it and fast enough to exploit it. Tyler turned to face his new students. That's what human learning is about. We don't have genetic memory, so we have to figure things out. We watch. We question. We experiment. We fail a lot. But we also adapt faster than species who already know the right way to do things. Because sometimes the right way isn't the only way. Boom rolled forward, his crystalline body humming. Can this be taught to species with genetic memory? Can we learn to observe the way humans do? I think so, Tyler said. Your genetic memory gives you a foundation. Perfect techniques refined over millions of years. That's incredibly valuable. But you can build on that foundation. You can add human-style observation and creativity on top of your ancestral knowledge. Combine the best of both approaches. Carthus's eyes gleamed. A hybrid approach. Genetic memory for technical perfection. Human observation for tactical adaptation. This could be revolutionary. Or it could be the beginning of a new fighting philosophy, Qualseth added. He looked at Tyler with those oil-dark eyes. I told you that you still had much to learn, Chin. I was not lying. But I am beginning to think that we have just as much to learn from you. Perhaps more. The training session continued late into the station's night cycle. Tyler worked with small groups of students, showing them how to identify tells and patterns. How to question assumptions. How to experiment with combining techniques. His body was exhausted, his bruises throbbing, but his mind was alive with excitement. This was what the obsidian cord meant. Not just mastering techniques but sharing knowledge. Not just learning but teaching. As the students finally began to leave, Kerthas approached one last time. Master Chin, I have one final question. Just Tyler is fine, Tyler said. And ask away. What will you learn tomorrow? Kerthas asked. You have demonstrated your ability today. You wear the obsidian cord. What challenges remain for you? Tyler smiled. Everything. I barely understand the Sarkeen wind form. I couldn't fully copy Qualsetha's storm of blades. There are probably hundreds of fighting styles in this galaxy I've never seen. Thousands of techniques I don't know. And now I need to learn how to teach, which is completely different from learning how to fight. He touched the obsidian cord at his waist. This cord doesn't mean I'm finished. It means I'm ready to begin the real work. Kerthas's expression shifted into what Tyler was learning to recognize as a Sarkeen smile. Then I look forward to beginning that work with you, Master Tyler. We will learn from each other. Yeah, Tyler agreed. I think we will.